Next Radio, this is The Big Talk. Canary Mugume is my 6.1 Next Radio, this is The Big Talk. Canary Mugume is my name. Good evening, all of you listening and watching the show from wherever you are. Welcome to The Big Talk. We delve into the pressing issues affecting our communities and our country. Today we focus on Lwemiyaga County in Sembabule District, a region or constituency facing challenges ranging from land disputes, underdeveloped infrastructure and water scarcity. Joining us on the show is the aspirant for Member of Parliament for that specific constituency, retired Brigadier General Gen.Rwashande, retired UPDF officer and aspiring member of that constituency, Lwemiyaga. He aims to address some of the challenges and also talks about development in the area. What are the unresolved issues in Lwemiyaga? General, good to have you on the show.
Good to have you too.
Welcome. There's a lot of debate you've sparked online.
Yes.
And we'll get to that in a bit. Just to give you context, Brigadier General retired. Hon.Rwashande is a retired officer of the UPDF. He retired from active service, I think, about April last year. April in 2024. Yes. And subsequently announced his intention to contest for Lwemiyaga County Member of Parliamentary seat. Rwashande has emphasized addressing issues from land grabbing and development, water scarcity, among others. He has also highlighted the importance of strong leadership and aims to bring about development to Lwemiyaga. Our question tonight is, what are the unresolved issues in Lwemiyaga? General, I want to begin here. You just retired from the military and now you're joining politics.
Yes.
You retired, I think, last year, like you said, in April, after decades of service. Given your military career, what specific leadership failures have you observed in Lwemiyaga that convinced you that a man who has served in the military can now join politics and serve diligently and address the concerns of the people?
Thank you very much, Canary Mugume. First of all, before I retired from the army, or before I changed to go for another tour of duty, was that I was working as the Chief of Civil Military Cooperation. And through those ones, through mobilization and wherever we were going, we faced a lot of challenges. We experienced a lot of challenges, especially in some areas, namely this one of Lwemiyaga. When we retired, we found so many people crying because of their leaders that are taking place. One is the grabbing of their lands. Individuals or members of parliament grabbing land of individuals, of some civilians. I can show you, Canary, here, that all these you see are cases registered against one person, individual. These are certain cases registered, registered against an individual, which is not yet resolved. These people have been beaten, have been harassed outside their land. They are now living in churches. Others are living in the bush. Others go in the bush during the day, come to churches during the night. This is a problem that is still not been solved. I want to thank the government that has sent there some 2 or 3 groups that have been investigating these cases.
What is the period of these cases? When have they been registered in court, and how long have they taken?
Well, some of them have been registered for a really long time, but the courts have not been taking action against the man, because the man intends to look as a strong person in the area. So even some courts, to an extent that they fear to talk about an individual person.
Just a member of parliament?
A member of parliament.
How is it possible that there are more than 10 cases registered against one member of parliament and he keeps being re-elected? It's now been 4 terms, 20 years.
Yes, he's being elected, but we shall also reach to that one, the way he was being elected. Because sometimes even the election itself, when the election is there, when you're going to see what takes place there, it's not like any other place in the country, whereby the forces are being forced. Some people don't vote. They vote. They grab the votes themselves, and they do it for themselves, not for the people themselves to do it for themselves. And this has been an individual with a small gang of people that he has been using to harass the entire constituency. This is what the people have been facing, and it is because of this that after getting out of the army, we could not sit down and listen to the people, because every day, on a daily basis, people are coming to us, crying, asking for their land. Others have been in prison for a long time without their case being heard. Others staying in the bush for a long time. Staying in the prisons for a long time, and nobody hears about them. It is now that we have actually intervened, and some people have been released, and they are there. And some of them.
How many people are we talking about here?
I have so far intervened in cases of releasing about 50 people.
Is this during your active military service as the chief, the one in charge of military cooperation?
I started on it by that time. That's when we started to tackle it, when I reached that area. I started to get to know. When I bought land there, people started coming to my place, even coming to my office. Even I remember some people coming as groups that they come for help because they can no longer sit in their own areas, in their own villages, and stay there without any help. That's when we started to get interested, and we started to register most of these cases, and everybody. So even now, when we retired, now it became so worse that I was at home, and every day, every morning up to evening, people coming for rescue. And this is where you have people. A good example is that I have one of those that have been evicted from his own land. He was around here, and when we called, you called me, invited me here. I just got a chance that I was around, and I came with him.
So let me ask, one individual is evicting people from their land while everyone else is watching, including district authorities and the government.
What he did, he has a kafna, this money lending issues. Now, that one, he used it as a weapon to use in order to gain the lands of the people.
But isn't that normal everywhere, that when you
it is
borrow,
normal everywhere,
when
but
you borrow money, your collateral security is land?
It depends on the system you are using. You may fail to pay for a 1 day, then he gets a chance to get your own land. Sometimes people get what to do. You have been paying, but you have remained with a few amount of money that you have not paid. But that one makes you to take his land, and the man shifts from his land, and the family and everybody. Some families have been, some 2 women have were delivering their babies, new babies, delivering babies in churches. This is
because their land had been taken.
Because the land has been taken by these gentlemen. So this is how he has been using his gangs.
And at what point do you get involved? Because you are now a retired military officer.
Yes.
You do not hold any position in government.
Yes.
You're no longer active in service.
Yes.
So you've been getting involved as well.
Just awareness of the people. Just talk to the people to get how they can, the steps they can take. If, for example, to take your land, what does he need? What does it take to go to court and get back? Some people don't even know. Even people to help them to know that they can go to grade 1, to go to the courts, and then see how they can get back their people. You find these people have their own titles, but Ssekikubo has special titles that he's actually getting from the courts. And on civilians, people in the villages who don't understand how the court goes and how people get their own documents, you find it is a bigger problem. So making people aware of what is happening, what is taking place, and how the measures they can take to get back their land, assist them to get some people who can investigate their cases, is also a contribution to the population. This is exactly where I'm getting involved.
Okay, so you retired from the UPDF in April 2024, last year, after decades of service. Given your military career, what specific leadership failures have you observed in Lwemiyaga?
Now, first of all, Lwemiyaga is not like any other area in the country. First of all, there is no, there is what we call the cycle of human security that helps an individual to get relieved, which is food security, health security, education security, and even environment and personal security. All these are not tackled in the areas of Lwemiyaga. For example, there is no government program that has ever taken place. There is no, for example, seed school in Lwemiyaga. There are only 2 secondary schools that were built by the former Honorable Sam Rwakojo. There is no contribution, and he has never given accountability of 25 years that has been voted in the power. Honorable,
that is not a role of a member of parliament.
Which role of?
For example, building a seed school.
No, but there are areas where government, you have to intervene as a member of parliament. For example, guiding the thinking of the ministries, to give the priorities of your area. This is what you can do. You may not actually be your role, but getting to understand, getting to know, and getting to request, even to go and ask some people to help you, even to have the government program implemented in your own area. It's a contribution that you can give as a member of parliament.
It entirely is under the discretion of government whether the program will be implemented or not.
Yes.
You've just talked about that no government program has been implemented in Lwemiyaga. What about PDM?
The PDM is there, but is also being taxed. This is part of the problem. I know it is not his role, but also monitoring how it goes, like in other villages. It is in other counties. It is very important, because it is not proper for people who are paying some 1 million and you deduct some 300,000 to pay in order to get the other PDM. That is also what is taking place in Lwemiyaga.
Well, quite interesting. So, having served in the army, in the UPDF, including in intelligence roles, how would your military experience excuse me, how will your military experience translate into resolving complex issues like the ones you're talking about, which include land grabbing?
Yes, the role of civil military cooperation in UPDF is to put a bridge between the civilians and the army. And the purpose of UPDF is not only the peace. If the peace is not, for example, in Lwemiyaga, if the peace is not in Lwemiyaga, then the peace is not there. If you cannot keep peace in Lwemiyaga through such activities like land grabbing, it will not be peace, what the people should enjoy. So our role, even before we retired, we could see such a things like those ones, then so that they can be implemented, and we take the voices of the people where they should be heard. For example, in the ministry, I want to give you an example of how he has been gaining a lot from the markets, livestock markets, which has been not taking place for almost 10 years. When there is no foot and mouth disease in the area, they vaccinated almost every animal in that area. But so long as the member of parliament is not interested to reach to those who can actually get the information and implement that one, his contribution alone means a lot in lacking behind what people they want.
You make it sound like Lwemiyaga's backwardness and problems can be entirely attributed to Ssekikubo.
I want to tell you why. For example, the only secondary school we have was actually initiated and built by Honorable Gen.Rwashande. We have seen other members of parliament contributing to their villages, even calling for people who are in charge of water, for example, to take water in their areas. We have never seen at any given time Honorable Ssekikubo calling some of these individuals to come and show their areas and move with them so that they can actually get to know what is happening on the ground. This is what we are complaining about, that they are not being represented. Representation actually means all this, that you reach everywhere, because you are the eyes of the people. You are the one to guide them. If whatever they want to get, you are the one to get there. For example, when I came in recently, I went myself and reached the Honorable Lwemiyaga, and I want to thank him for that, and told him about the problem of Lwemiyaga and the quarantine that has been there for 10 years. I can assure you this has been implemented and the markets have started.
Does it show absence of the state in Lwemiyaga as opposed to it being a Lwemiyaga problem or a Ssekikubo problem? That government is not on ground, even after having, for example, a veterinary officer at the district who should be able to know or what issues are concerned with the livestock, as opposed to you who can directly reach Honorable Bright Ramirama.
All this, I'm telling you, I was telling you that I was working as a bridge between the civilians and the people. And the member of parliament should be a bridge of his people and the government. That's why he should be actually an implementer. He should be the head of implementing the government programs. Sometimes we may blame the government that things are not there, but sometimes they are not even informed on what is happening on the ground. So I think where we have some active members of parliament in their areas, their districts are very clear. It's not because they like them more than they like these ones. It's because the initiative the members of parliament are putting in for their own people, because they represent them for that.
How many cases were you involved in during your active service? civil military cooperation
So many.
in Lwemiyaga.
So many. Not only Lwemiyaga had not gone into Lwemiyaga so much. I only guided in how people can go to court and get out their land titles. But I have done a lot around the country. This time I was not in charge only of Lwemiyaga, but I was in charge of the whole country. So I was going, for example, I returned the land titles where the rich men had actually bought land for some poor people in a wrong way. In Kasana, in Ruwero. And that is also an example. So even this one, they came to my office, I took them to the people. That's why some of them were released, but the cases are still in court, which I cannot handle.
Doesn't it show you that the problem of land grabbing is not unique to Lwemiyaga, but rather widespread across the country?
Mainly in Lwemiyaga. I have not had, for example, in Chiruhura, who are neighbors, Kazo are neighbors, Mubende are neighbors. We have not had such a cases, only in that island of darkness in Lwemiyaga.
Interesting. So, when you investigated across the country, who did you find responsible?
The person responsible is Honorable Ssekikubo, except as a lawyer, he has been hiding behind that money lending issue. So you find the names of people grabbing the land is actually someone else, but behind him, who has the titles and everything.
Honorable.
The land, even the land that they have actually taken, fully taken, they are now in his own names,
but
not in the names of the other ones.
Yes, but you said you investigated this across the entire country and you found land disputes across the country, and you're involved in many cases,
Yes.
less actually of Lwemiyaga. What kind of people did you find responsible for land grabbing and land disputes across the country?
Well, there is the general problem in land office, especially the commissioners in all these. The people who grab, you find one land has about 4 land titles, which is a bigger problem that this country needs to address. You find, for example, that is the same Ssekikubo, and you hear recently he was grabbing land in Ruwero and Ngoma. That is a 2. So you find someone getting a title, another has a title, and they are all given by the same office, which is a bigger problem that the country needs to address.
So the problem is with our land policy as a country, not necessarily individuals.
Yes, but there are those that actually enjoy that wrong policy.
Take advantage
of the corrupt part of the government. Yes.
Let's talk about water crisis and corruption that you are alluding to. Residents in Lwemiyaga rely majorly on unsafe water sources.
Yes.
In fact, in Sembabule, which I've visited so many times, including covered so many elections in there, including the by-election, where Shatsi won, I discovered that many people fetch water from unsafe water sources, with some communities sharing even water with cattle.
Yes.
The government has allocated resources for rural water supply, yet the crisis persists.
Yes.
What evidence do you have that you can tackle corruption in such projects?
Very good. Since that time, since Satsi and Sodo entered in that area, they may have their differences, not understanding each other, but their contribution on the ground has actually changed the total situation about the water in the people they are taking now. That's why you find that the Lwemiyaga has actually remained behind. Now you find there is a lot of water. Water they have reserved a lot of. They have done a lot of piped water in this upper Sembabule, which has not been done in Roma. I believe if I can be given a chance, I can reach on every office to make sure that people at least have the basics, which is food, which is household incomes, and even water, safe water.
Yes.
Plus education.
Those are not the roles of a member of parliament.
Yeah, they are not. But
you know the major cardinal roles.
The major cardinal roles, I know them.
Which are 3.
Yes.
So when you talk about education, water supply, safe water, and getting all these disputes in land grabbing resolved, I mean that is not your job.
It is not my job, but that's why I'm also a voice of many. So there is
government has systems on how some of these issues
they
should
have
be
systems,
resolved.
but they are also guided by individuals who are coming from those areas. For example, that's why I'm telling you that the market has been they have not been markets in quarantine for all these 10 years. But the day started from last week. Now the markets are open. It's not because that the government doesn't want, but it needs to be guided. What is the problem? So if individuals like members of parliament can reach some of these ministries, they can also talk to them So that's why I'm saying that having contacts, having teamwork, this is what solves most of the problems in this country.
Or are you actually trying to say that because of your proximity to power, you're able to resolve some of these issues?
It's not my
I've seen some of the
proximity.
people backing you include, of course, the people with power. I've seen you at different concerts addressing the people, and the people who are accompanying you are those with power. So is it proximity to power or actually having an ear to the ground?
There is no power I have than the power an MP has. If I would have such a power like that one of an MP, I think there could be no stone unturned. Because I know I can reach everybody so long as I have the willingness of the mind to help the population.
Will alone,
This is what is lacking.
will alone might not necessarily have to solve problems. It also goes back to, for example, budget allocations, how much money has been allocated to solve,
Yes.
for example, a water crisis problem in Zimbabwe. You know how the dry spell treated you last year?
Yes.
And at the beginning of this year, you know how much cattle died in Zimbabwe
Yes.
and Lwemiyaga. My question
Yes.
is, will alone might not necessarily be enough.
Yes. But let's first have the will. It reduces a certain percentage. Then we look for the other percentage when we have done our own job. But even ours and the willingness to do it is not there. Instead of dividing people, telling them how a Muganda and a Mnyankore cannot live together, why do we put a lot of
Do you want to come
effort?
closer to the mic?
Why do we put a lot of effort in those than actually uniting people and bringing something that can unite them? When we go across, we have example in Chiruhura, just household income, just to bring some coolers for people to collect their milks. That one alone does not even need a government. A member of parliament can mobilize his friends and do it.
So why haven't the people done it? You know, people in Chura still rely on 1,000 shillings per litre for milk.
That's
to be
why they
able
have.
to-
That's why
to
they
buy a
have.
few things for the household.
That's why they have 800 million every day that enter from only milk in Chiruhura, which is not in Lwemiyaga. This is what we want to bring in. Let us first do, before we even complain about the government, what is our role? What have we contributed? Let's first contribute to those small issues that tackle the basic needs of individuals, of civilians, like the household income, where we can contribute. I have been in China for 10 years. I know most of these Chinese who have brought here some industries. And these ones we can actually call them and they are willing. But they need somebody to call them. They need somebody to persuade them. They need somebody to get them land where they can invest so they can bring this machinery and they help the population. This one does not need the government. Then you can do yours and wait for the government to do his. It's a role.
Let's take a break. When we return, let's talk about the man you're standing against. Theodore Ssekikubo, veteran MP, has been in power as Member of Parliament for 25 years. And also let's talk about the unique problems or challenges faced by Lwemiyaga that are not across the country. All that after this break.